What's going on, YouTube? Metal Complex here, and today I have an awesome knife review slash knife overview to do with you guys. This is the Olamic Cutlery Wayfarer 247 or 247, however you want to say that. This is an awesome knife. Once again, this is a knife provided by my good buddy Jeff Goodnow. He's got an awesome collection. He's offered up some amazing knives for me to review on my channel, and I am infinitely appreciative of this opportunity. Really fun. It's so much fun for me to bring you guys content like this because a lot of these knives, Jeff and I have incredibly similar taste, and a lot of these knives are knives that I've just been lusting after for so long, but I don't, I can only afford one super knife at a time, so it's really hard for me to get my hands on these personally, but I've been after a 247 for myself for a while, and it's really nice to be able to handle one and talk about it a little bit. So anyways, enough gushing. Let's go ahead and get into the review. I'm going to go ahead and take a measurement on this beautiful knife here. Overall length coming in at, it's a little over 8 inches, but not quite 8 1/4. It looks to be about 8.1, 8.2 inches overall. From tip to scale on the blade, you're probably looking at its longest, about 3.6 inches, and the cutting edge is actually a little bit over 3.5 inches as well, maybe 3.6. So really nice blade to handle ratio there. Let's do some size comparisons. Up against the Ontario Rat Model 1, Rat 1 is coming in at 8.6 inches overall. So you can see there, the 247 is not a small knife. Not a huge knife, though, either. Up against the Spyderco PM2. PM2 coming in at, let me get that accurate there, about 8.3 inches overall, so just a little bit longer there. How about up against the Ritter Hogue, or Benchmade Griptilian, however you want to look at that. About 8 inches overall there on the Ritter Hogue. Very similar in overall length. And last but not least, the Spyderco Delica. Spyderco Delica coming in at 7 inches overall. So, really nice size on this knife. You have a silhouette that reminds me a lot of an old flintlock pistol. You have that kind of, like if this was the barrel and then this was the handle, it kind of has that pistol grip shape to it, and I really like that aesthetically. That's really nice. Let's get a look at this real quick. So any of you who are not familiar with Olamic Cutlery, they make some really awesome and very unique designs. And if you go and look up any of their stuff on the retailer of choice, if they carry them, you'll see like that every single knife is different. A lot of them are very vibrant and colorful. Some of them are plain Jane. Some of them are sculpted. Some of them are acid washed. They all have like interesting textures and patterns on the handles, and they're all over the place, and that's what I like so much about these knives. You guys know I'm a huge Hinder fan. I'm a huge fan of the whole make it your own and customize and blah blah blah. Olamic has that, but in their own way. It's like, if you want to order something directly from them, you tell them how you want it. As far as I understand, now I'm sure like anybody, they've got their limitations, but from what I've heard from different reviewers, they will do just about anything on a custom order. But you know what? Chances are you won't have to do that. I mean, go look at like DLT right now and just look at the 247s that are available at DLT. I promise you, your brain will explode. I promise you. It's striking. You want something subdued and more minimalist? You can have it. You want something crazy and over the top? You can have it. It's done. They got a bunch of different blade shapes too. There's so much for me to drool over. I couldn't spend another second there because I knew I was going to spend money. It was just, and I told Jeff, I was like, oh, God, I love this 247. This is so cool. But anyways, let's review it. I'm going to give a fair and honest review to this, I promise. Try not to be biased. Anyways, let's take a look here at the action. This is a flipper knife. The detent is nice, and it's heavy, but not in a way that's like obnoxiously heavy. The action is very snappy on deployment. You do have a little bit of, I don't want to call it friction, just tightness in the pivot. I'm going to assume this knife is very new. It does not look like you've used this, Jeff, so I have to assume everything is just breaking in. It is very smooth. You can see here it's very easy for me to close the knife. There's not a lot of resistance there. It's just not quite a fall shutty, knife. It's just kind of a shake shutty knife, and that's fine with me. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. Let's go ahead and weigh it here real quick. Overall weight on this one, which the weight on these is going to vary greatly because there's so many different custom materials. I don't know if they, I mean, I know they have the options on the handle skills where they can put a bunch of holes and things in it, which definitely is going to lighten it up. So weight on these is going to vary greatly depending on what options you get. On this particular one, 5.15 ounces, which is right there in my sweet spot. You guys know I like to carry between 4.5 and 6.5 ounces. I like the feeling of solidity and heft. So a little over 5 ounces for me is just gravy. I'm a big fan of that. Really, really cool. This knife does come in and out of the pocket very easily. There's not really a scallop or scoop or anything on the pocket clip, but despite how low profile it is, it does get over the seam of my pants pretty easily. You know, I don't have an issue with that. It also seems to come out pretty easily too. There's nothing real obvious to grab onto, but the pocket clip is large and wide enough that it makes it easy to do that. Let's take a look at this blade here. What we have is their drop point blade variant. Now they do have, I think they've got sheep's foot, they've got harpoon, at least. I know about those 3 blade shapes at least, but you know, they do a lot of different stuff. And they also have a ton of different models. So if you guys remember my video where I talked about my most regrettable sales, like the knives that I own that I regret selling the most, my original Olamic Cutlery Wayfarer, which is a full-size one at like 9¼ inches, I sold one of those and I really, really regret it. And like these and any of their other models, most of them are unique, which means the chances of getting another one exactly like that one are slim to none. But the 247 is just a more carryable size. And, you know, I love the Wayfarer, but it was massive. This 247, this is close to the size of an XM18 or a PM2 or a Griptilian. So it's right there in the right size. But anyways, they've got a whole bunch of different blade shapes and they've got a whole bunch of different variations of the handles and as well as different finishes. This is their satin finish. By the way, this blade is M390, you can see right there. Really nice. The edge has no nicks or rolls and is very uniform. You can see there the final grind on the edge is very uniform all the way around. It's very, very pretty. Really like that. You do have this little opening hole here that serves as partially a secondary means of deployment. You have the flipper tab, which works perfectly. I mean, the flipper tab is just perfect for deployment. Now, I could not get this to deploy using the reverse flick, and that was a little bit of a disappointment. I kind of thought I'm going to be able to do that, nor can I get it to deploy using the thumb flick this way. I just can't get enough on there. Maybe you can, I can't. What I can do is I can pinch open it just fine. So if you're somebody who likes to do that, which basically what I'm doing is I'm holding it like this, just pinch opening it, then it works just, you know, really well. It also is really easy to do a two-handed opening movement there. But the flipper tab works just fine. It's designed as a flipper. It does that. I can't really fault it too much. Moving down to the handle scales here, you have what I have decided is my new favorite finish on titanium, both by feel and aesthetically. This is orange peel textured titanium, and it just looks beautiful. This is the first time I've ever handled a folding knife that's got orange peel titanium, and I always thought, watching these other channels and these guys, you know, handle these super high-end knives, I was like, I bet I'd really like that orange peel texturing. And I do. I was right. I love it. It's awesome. That's exactly how I would get this. So really nice. It's also very well chamfered, very nice and rounded all the way around. I mean, fit and finish is just perfection on this thing. I have no issues with fit and finish whatsoever. It's very, very nice. But like I said, there's a multitude of different finishes, different textures, things like that you can do. The hardware on this guy is anodized blue, and you have a beautiful, beautiful Damascus inlay here. This is also one of the first times I've seen, not the very first time, but one of the first times I've seen Damascus in person, and this is just wonderful. I've actually got my fingers all over this. Let me wipe this off because it actually becomes a lot more vibrant when you don't have finger oils all over it. So let me show you. Yeah, there we go. The colors that come out on this stuff are just insane. So, you know, from what I've seen, there's a bunch of different custom inlays they do, different materials. You know, I've seen like copper, and I've seen like green anodized titanium and zirconium and some crazy exotic stuff that I've never even heard of. You know, they do all of that. You know, they do all these weird things, and it's awesome. You know, like, if you like the silhouette of this knife and you want a flipper tab and you know, you've heard good things about Olamic Cutlery, which honestly, you should have. I mean, you know, I don't know that I've heard anything negative about Olamic Cutlery. And the gentleman who runs the company, by the way, his name is Eugene. I've heard nothing but good things about him. You know, if you watch Nick Shabazz, you're going to hear a lot of good things about Eugene. And I mean, not just there, but there's a bunch of reviewers who have talked about Olamic Cutlery and just how awesome their product is and how cool Eugene is. I mean, you're going to hear it. It's a broken record, you know. So the company has a very positive impact on the knife community. And beyond that, if you like their knives, like I was saying, it sounds like you can get just about whatever you want. Moving on here, we do unfortunately have the little tiny size Torx head screws that I don't like, but that's the way it is, whatever. And if I didn't mention, you do have a proprietary pivot, though I believe, I wonder if it's in, I don't know that the tool, what I'm looking at here off camera is a zipper pouch that I believe this knife came in. I think there is a tool, as far as I understand, and I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, you'll see a pinned comment in the comment section. I believe these knives come with the tool that's required to disassemble them. That's great. I like that. What I'd rather see is just a simple Torx head pivot. I don't think I'm the only person to have said that, but I don't know. You know, I suppose as long as the tool to disassemble it comes with it, then you're fine. I don't know what the rules are on disassembly or their warranty. I have to imagine they've got a great warranty, and I also have to imagine all the information that you could want on that subject is probably available on their website. Moving on here, we've got a nice, in my opinion, conveniently placed lanyard hole. It's not in the way. You can definitely get 550 in there, no problem. Really like the backspacer. You've got this floating backspacer situation. In this case, it's actually the same texture as the titanium. I imagine you can get Damascus or copper or zirconium or different. You could get it textured. I imagine there's a bajillion options for that, you know, depending on how you want it to contrast with the hardware and the pocket clip. So that's cool. Pocket clip is equally stunning. Let me go ahead and get my nasty, dirty fingerprints off of this so I can give you an example of how this looks when it's clean. Pocket clip is equally striking in contrast with the hardware and with the inlay on the front side. Just beautiful. That is awesome. Front side is much the same as the back, except of course you have the frame lock and the relief cut. Relief cut's got just a little bit of extra, you know, a couple little scallops in there instead of just the plain U shape, so that's nice. Kind of appreciate that. Your backside or rear side pivot is the same as the front. You do have anodized screws for the steel lock bar insert. This knife does have a steel lock bar insert and over travel stop. You can see there that bar that's going to keep it from over traveling. This knife is locking up at probably about 25% there. It's also perfectly centered, no issues there. Lockup is absolutely solid, no play, up, down, left, or right. The geometry seems great there, no issues whatsoever. All the way around, just beautiful fit and finish. Let's talk about classification of this knife and pricing. The way that I understand it is most knives out of Olamic Cutlery are at least in the mid-tech range of classification. Like I've said in many other videos, how you classify mid-tech, it's different with every single person. What it means is there's a lot more attention and handwork and personal touch that goes into it versus a production knife. These are not just stamped and pressed. They are generally hand-tuned, hand-fitted. These are all made in the United States. So these are USA-made knives. I do believe that Olamic Cutlery does do full customs. I'm not familiar with their full customs, how they differentiate from the mid-techs. Now, it didn't used to be this way. This and a few other models are pretty readily available on online retailers. So if you like this and you've never heard of them, you're like, I want that, I want to go see one, you can find them. Here's the price range originally that I remember when the 247 came out. I believe you could get a base model, and somebody can correct me, I believe you can get a base model of this, or you could at one point, for like $400. That's a good price. The prices that I'm seeing now are between $500 and $1,000. Now, to be fair though, what I'm seeing, originally I think the blade steel on these were that you had a choice between LMAX and 20CV. Maybe there was some S35VN in there. And then, you know, that was kind of plain Jane or maybe a little bit of texturing. And then you had the option to get some crazier stuff. Now all of these are M390, and all the ones that I'm seeing, like on DLT when I just looked, they're all crazy. They're all nuts. Jeff told me that this one was about $650. That matches what I'm seeing to similar models on DLT. So this is about a $650 variant. And honestly, what you're getting here, Bearings, full titanium, you're getting anodized hardware, M390, a beautiful finish on the blade, perfect fit and finish, really good action, and you're getting some exotic materials. Exotic in quotes, I don't know, honestly, I don't know how difficult these materials are. Sorry about that, everybody. Had a phone call, had to stop the video. But anyways, you're getting a whole bunch of stuff with this knife that honestly is pretty amazing for what they're charging for it. Now what I'm about to say, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. But what I'm seeing in the $600, $700, $800 range for this knife versus what I'm seeing some other custom makers and other companies that are doing mid-techs and offering similar features, I'm seeing really, really good prices with Olamic. Now, that's not to say that if you paid a lot more money for similar features on a knife that's made by a maker that you really like and respect and you're happy with your knife, that's not to say that you made a bad choice. Not at all. If you love it and you're happy, then that's great. What I'm saying is just from my perspective, when I'm looking at stuff like this, it's kind of amazing to me that you can get a lot of this stuff with Olamic. And believe it or not, as striking as this knife is, it's kind of relaxed versus what the other stuff that I'm seeing. I saw a version of this knife on DLT that, if I remember correctly, it was a black acid washed sheep's foot blade that had the most striking, the frame and everything was black, and then you had all the holes cut in, and on the lips of the holes were green or like sort of a teal ano, and then there was like some copper. It was just crazy. It was an explosion of color in contrast with this brooding black. You're just gonna have to go look. It's really, really impressive. This is awesome. As far as what you're getting for the price, I think it's great. If you're somebody who's only used to spending $100, $200 for a really nice production knife, that's fine, and you probably have a really great knife. But you may not understand or appreciate what it is that you're getting with these knives, and that's okay. You don't have people who are used to buying really nice production knives. There's no reason that you have to graduate into a really nice mid-tech. What I'm saying is that if you're already here or you're considering going into this part of the knife world, Olamic Cutlery is worth looking at. Definitely, because you can get what you want, and whatever custom setup that you get is going to ultimately come on a package that's very pocket friendly, very easy to manipulate with one hand. In terms of a beautiful piece, yeah, A+. But also in terms of a functional cutting tool, yes, absolutely, A+. Very easy to manipulate with one hand. I do have one gripe, and it's a minor one, but it is a gripe, and I'm not the only person to have ever brought it up about these knives. You do kind of have a double clutch situation with the flipper tab, and what I mean by that is when you go to disengage the frame lock away from the blade tang, and you push this blade down, and you use your thumb to block the blade, you use the combination of your thumb and the flipper tab to block the blade from coming down on your finger, you're right on top of, if not just behind, where the detent ball is passing over the blade. So if you like to do this and kind of shake the knife, you see what I'm running into here? I can't shake it back because the blade fell back off of the detent ball on the other side of it. So you have to get it past that detent ball, which means you have to bring your thumb way down here and catch it just barely by the tip of your fingernail, and then hope this just barely past the detent ball, then you can do that. Really what you have to do is this. Kick it, hold it in place with your finger, and then kick it past the detent ball and it'll kick shut. It's not a situation where you can just shake it shut with your hands. It really depends on how you like to put the blade away. Does it create a functional problem? No. It's a little bit annoying if you're a fidgety person and you like to sit on your couch and flip your knife all day. From a functional standpoint, you're not at any type of disadvantage whatsoever. That situation, what people refer to as the double clutch, is the same problem that the 0562 has. And I use the term problem lightly. I don't mean it's an actual problem. That should never be the deciding factor for you when you're buying a knife of this caliber, or frankly, any caliber. Because as far as one-handed manipulation goes, this is the only thing the knife should do. It should come out of your pocket, it should deploy, you should be able to cut with it and hang on to it. Then you should be able to disengage the frame lock with one hand, and you should be able to put the blade away with one hand and put it back in your pocket. This knife does all of those things just fine, so there's no reason to be like, I can't buy it now because of that. So, that's really the only issue that I have with it. Yeah, it'd be really nice if the pivot was a Torx head, but as far as I understand, they give you the tool, and it would also be really nice if I could deploy this with the reverse flick or the forward flick. You know, a lot of those are nitpicks. I mean, honestly, if this had a Torx head, I could use the slot opener to do the reverse flick and it didn't have the double clutch, you would have perfection at a level that would make it almost sad for anything else on the market. I mean, you would have literal perfection. If I were to give this knife a grade, I'd give it a 95 out of 100. It's really that good. All the things that I can nitpick are exactly that. They're just nitpicks. Can I recommend this knife? Absolutely. But I can recommend it to people who are already looking at this caliber. You know, if you've been buying Chris Reeve knives and Hinderer knives and Striders and Medfords, if you've been paying that type of money for that type of knife, definitely look at Olamic. Definitely, because they offer so many different sizes and shapes and different types of knives, and then you get to have what you want within there. You know, so if you want to bump up to $600, $700, $800, then you can get what you want. They also offer Damascus blades if you want more of an art piece. You know, not that you can't use it still, but you know, if you really want to go that route, you can. If you want to get something that's like, you know, heirloom quality, or you want to carry a dressy heirloom piece and actually use it, then yeah, look at them, because you're going to get it for a great price. This is going to go on my most recommended knives playlist, and it's also going to go on my favorite knives of all time playlist, because truthfully, it just brings me that much joy. I just really like how this looks and feels, and I don't know, Jeff, maybe the one that you're letting me look at here is just exactly the right variant for me, but this knife hit me. It hit me hard, and I really, really like it. Truthfully, guys, that is about all I can say, and I think we're well over 20 minutes at this point. So if you enjoyed this video, or you at least found it entertaining, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so please check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, then please subscribe to my channel, because there is definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.